pass to Johnson. Johnson still going. Dummies again. Johnson into the white of Brown goes in to score.
Ali Salvia down the touchline. Oh, this is unbelievable. They're gonna win it. Oh, what scenes here, what scenes. LeBron James, a shot at history. LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
All right, we're on. Welcome back to STS. Another week in the saddle, and you can argue we're coming in off the back of one of the great weekends of New Zealand sports. A massive result. Shout out to the White Ferns, the Black Caps, Team New Zealand as well for going the big lift. Then we had Liam Lawson pulling off that top 10 finish in the F1. The Silver Ferns beating Aussie AFC, getting their opening home win in the A-League as well. Shit, was there plenty to tuck into last weekend, and great to see the Kiwi sides getting results on the international stage as well, and that was without the All Blacks or the Kiwis in the mixer, so the stage is set now for both of those sides to go big this weekend and continue that momentum. Of course, as always, brought to you by the TAB, headline sponsor of this podcast. If you are having a flutter, a cheeky little Carmichael punt this weekend, then make sure you do it through the TAB. Plenty of sport to get around, as I just mentioned before. Please gamble responsibly, and I'll run you through my tips for this weekend's actions later on in the pod. Shout out to Better Beer as well, absolute legends. If you're having a few tins this weekend, head along to your local bottle store, grab yourself a box, you won't regret it. Only 81 calories, 0 carbs, great for the rig and great to pair with whatever sport you are watching. And, of course, they're going to be the main beer sponsor of the Surly Talk Sports Golf Day, which sold out in under an hour and a half. Appreciate everyone that jumped on and grabbed their tickets. Some deadly-looking fours in there, some big names in the mixer too, so keen to see if they can back it up on the golf course. A couple sporting stars, so we'll be tracking how they go throughout the day. It's going to be one of the greats. The stage is set. Better Beer and Zephyr with the free tins. We've got a Red Bull party hole. The atmosphere is going to be unreal. Longest drive, closest to the pin, all that type of stuff. Some hissing prizes from your sponsors up for grabs as well. So can't wait for that, November 16th. If you did miss out, there's a bit of a waiting list because always there's a few teams that might have to pull pin. So flick me a message if you want to jump on that waiting list. Otherwise, this is going to be an annual event. May even run her back earlier than this next year. Make it into a twice-a-year event too due to the demand. But shout out to everyone that bought their tickets. Really appreciate their support and can't wait for November 16th. Waitemata is going to absolutely go off. But plenty to chew the fat around this week, so let's rip straight into it. Did remember to chuck up the stories for the old Q&A too, so we'll tackle that later in the pod. But let's get into it. Kick things off by talking some rugby league. NRL and of course the Pacific Championships are underway, plus the off-season really getting into its work, both in a good and a bad sense, which we'll touch on now. We'll start with the good, of course, because I'm a big believer in optimism, and it was a huge weekend of rugby league romance. First of all, shout out to the Pompies. Congratulations to them on tying the knot. Looked like a great day, and good to see so many of the Warriors lads there really enjoying themselves before pre-season kicks off in just a couple of weeks' time. The wedding I wanted to touch on, though, has to be Critters, and the dance performance that him and his groomsmen put in. That was second to none. My Girl, Into Staying Alive, two great tunes, and as a white man watching that, I couldn't think of anything worse. The anxiety levels would be through the roof, but clearly these lads can move. They put together a nice little routine. Do wonder how long they had to practice it for in order to nail it, but at the same time, they seem like that bunch of blokes 15 minutes and they could just bang her out. Basically, if you haven't seen the video, they form a nice little flying V, Critter at the front, Bizza just behind him, and shit, another example of what can't Bizza do. This kid can move. No doubt fueled up on about 6 Coke Zeros before his performance. But geez, just smile on his dial. He had all the moves in the book, executed them perfectly as well. But these lads, all smooth operators, was really interesting to see. No Jerome Luai in the mixer too, in the groomsmen party. I do note he was at the wedding. There was lots of chat he wouldn't be there due to captaining Samoa, but he was there. Maybe though, Critter saw his performance at Biz's wedding and just thought, yeah, best you sit this one out, horse. But massive scenes, the blokes can definitely move. An impressive performance, shows they're more than just footy players, and perhaps there's life after football in the TikTok world for some of these lads. Shout out to Ivan Cleary as well, and perhaps that proves my point even more about the white man thing. Good to see him on the dance floor. He looked like he was more of a fueled on pure fizz type of operator. Didn't quite have every move in the book. The hips looked a little bit tighter, but shit, he looks stoked to be there, cutting some shapes as well. What a legend of a bloke, and it just goes to show the love they have for Ive as well. He's certainly an honorary also, in my humble opinion. On to the bad, sad scenes for Ezra Mam, and geez, this one, when it first came across my desk, I thought it was a bit funny, to be honest, but looking more into it, you do have to wonder if the fact that he does get his contract terminated by the Broncos is a genuine possibility. Like I said at first glance, I thought that was just the media playing it up deluxe, but the more you read into the details, the fact that a 4-year-old was seriously hurt in this crash, crossed lanes, caused a head-on, it is pretty serious stuff, of course. Failed a roadside drug test, was driving without a license. You back that up with his little scandal in Bali. He really has done the ultimate rugby league off-season, but this is pretty worrying stuff. And Madge is certainly going to have to whip him into line if they do decide to keep him. I think the fact that there's not a lot of genuine premier top shelf halves on the market at the moment will play a big factor in this, and they need Ezra if they are to be contenders in 2025, so I don't expect them to sack him, but at the same time I'll be really surprised if the punishment wasn't very serious, because shit, the outcome of this could have been truly tragic. And hopefully, I see he's checked himself into a bit of a rehab style course, so fingers crossed he can sort things out, because on the field, such a talented footballer, and I really enjoy watching him play. The charisma, the personality, the way he expresses himself, he's an enjoyable watch. So let's hope Ezra can sort his shit, get back to playing some of his best footy, and all of this can just be moved on in the past, and that everyone involved in the crash makes a full recovery and all as well. Moving on to the Pacific Championship results, of course, 2 big games last week in particular in the men's comp, where PNG dishing up a nice win over Fiji, 22 points to 10. Juicy for my TAB account, was tipping out PNG 1-12 all week at $3.60. Hopefully you got involved, of course, more on that in the punting section soon, but I thought PNG looked really sharp, and it was disappointing from Fiji. As I said last week, a bit of a throw together team, and they clearly didn't gel, dominated at home. And then Aussie, 18 points to 0 over Tonga in this game at Suncorp. Tonga pretty hearty, they certainly fronted up, and I actually thought the end scoreline really did flatter the Kangaroos. I saw plenty of chinks in the Aussies' armour, including the performance of their middles. Lindsay Collins, 31 metres in 45 minutes off only 4 carries. That is pretty out the gate for a starting prop. Then you add to that their completion rate of only 61%. They made so many unforced errors. They look really clunky on attack. Of course, a new halves combo of Dearden and Moses. Moses hadn't played a lot of footy, so that is to be expected. But when you throw in 18-0, they scored an intercept try, and then they scored a try late in the 78th minute to Dearden to blow out that scoreline. You have to take your hat off to Tonga, who were well and truly in this one. Tonga held up the Aussies a couple times over the line, to be fair, but at the same time, they had their chance to score too. Unfortunately, Kolomatangi couldn't dot that one. So you walk away from this one thinking the Kiwis could be well and truly on this week, because Aussie, while they're stacked on paper, they certainly didn't perform to the ability that their squad would suggest they should. It was a tough night for Isaiah Katoa, unfortunately, which I do think played a bit of an outcome in the result as well. Love this kid, so talented as a young 7. He put 2 kickoffs out on the full, and then 2 kicks that went long that just gifted Aussie 7 tackle sets. No doubting his future is bright. Aussie clearly went at him defensively too, forced him to make 34 tackles. They went hard on attack at that edge of Katoa and Alamotti for pretty good results as well. I do think they need a star 6 to complement him. I don't think Tui Lolohea is that guy. He can do a job, but in order to push up to that next level, I think they really do need to lock down that position. But shit, I thought Tonga really did front, and for me, there was plenty of positives to take from this game, despite being held to 0 for the first time in a bloody long time. I don't think the score was a fair reflection of this clash. In terms of your standouts, Lehigh Hopewadi for me, I thought he was unreal. Yes, he got binned, but it was in order to save a try, and he pulled off a couple try-saving tackles that were exceptional. I thought he looked really strong at the back, still so young, son of the great John Hopewadi. He's got plenty of improvement in him still, but I reckon his future looks incredibly bright. I thought despite the injury concerns coming into this game, Tommy Turbo, he looked really good as well. There were a few nice plays where his roaming ability was on display, popped up on the same edge as Hammer on multiple occasions, and I just like him at centre. He gets so involved there at international and rep level. I truly do think that's his position, and I think Manly should look at that performance from Lehigh and think, if there's a way that we can play Tommy at centre and limit the damage, the Ks on his rig, then I think that's something they seriously need to consider as well. I thought Mitch Barnett was really good, 123 metres off 13 carries in 35 minutes. The only forward to run for more metres than him was Angus Crichton with 4 more metres in an 80-minute shift. I reckon they need to start that bloke, bench Collins and chuck him on. At the same time, though, that probably throws off their rotation because they need Mitch's impact once they go through that lull patch. But I thought he was great on debut, so shout out to Mana Mitch from across the ditch. And then, of course, the player of the game for me had to be the Hammer. This bloke is a freak. We need to be on against him this week, try and cut down the time every time he gets the ball. He looks so dangerous defensively too. He was hitting blokes, and I think that's a real underrated aspect of his game as well. And watching this, it only made the fact that Trey Fuller is out for next season with that ACL injury for the Dolphins even more gutting, because I still reckon the Hammer an elite centre, and that was on display here. His ability to just bounce outside of defenders, then he's got the fender doom as well. He really is one of the great attacking players in rugby league. Speaking of folding, Hamole Olakuatu, that shot he put on Lindsay Collins, that was a folding even Kane Evans would have been proud of. The avocado seed man got turned into guacamole by Hamole. That was a shoulder of doom. Watch that one on replay multiple times, and full credit to Collins too for bouncing back up, because shit, that would have been tough to get up from. The wind was well and truly taken from his sails, but that had to be one of the biggest collisions of the year. The big fella certainly didn't miss. So on to the Kiwis versus Aussies this week, and I'm just fizzing for this game. Down in Christchurch, of course, I'm heading down there with the George Sports crew. She's a sellout. Aussie will be better for the hit out last week, but also there were some rusty combos there that I do think are going to take more than a week to sort out. I thought the halves really clunky. I thought Dylan Edwards looks like he's still carrying a few niggles off the back of a huge season playing Origin footy and then winning his 4th comp with the Panthers. So there's lots to suggest that they're still far from a polished product, and I think they're extremely beatable. This Kiwis team too, I really like the look of it, of course. Named on your team naming Tuesday, the first team at the helm for Stacey Jones. 5 debutants in Keanu Keeney, William Warbrick, Phoenix Crossland. Love that video of him that the Kiwis chucked up on social media. The initiation, if you haven't seen it, each Kiwis player, the new ones, have to sing a song. They can only stop singing once they get full support of the bus. And I got to say, Phoenix, geez, he's bought in quick to the Kiwi culture, it looked like. The bro almost had a full accent, almost looked like one of those ginger Māori lads, which really did fill me with confidence. Then you got Nafahu White and Jordan Ricky, Pretty Ricky, also making their debuts. Pretty crazy that Ricky hasn't debuted yet, so well done to him. Certainly deserved. Then at the other end of the scale, you got your boy Peter Hiku playing his 17th test, his first test since the 2022 World Cup semi-final. Debuted in 2014. That's 10 years in the black jersey, and I reckon his experience could be key. Probably tempting to chuck in a Casey McLean or someone like that, but I think we need the old head there out in the centres just to keep us calm. He's strong defensively. He'll do an absolute job, and his form this year in the Super League has been really strong, so personally, I'm stoked to see him in the mixer. A big omission from this team, Leo Thompson, and I personally forgot he's serving a one-match ban ban for a careless high tackle in week 1 of the NRL finals, so he's unavailable this week. We'll be back for the Tonga clash, so a bit of a shame not to have him trotting out there. But the team, Keanu Kenny at the back, well done to him. Debutant, a massive year this year for the Titans, and I reckon he's going to be dangerous at this level. Work rate of doom, he's silky, his speed at the back of shape always causes problems, and I'm really excited to see his link with SJ, because for me, he's almost like another Tane Tuopiki, so that could give us a bit of an indication as to how Tane could look out the back of shape for the Warriors next year, although of course SJ won't be there. Jermaine Isako on the Stings with William Warbrick, who gets his debut. Triple international, great scenes for the Brick. Shit, does he deserve it? And those are two wingers right there with some great strike and finishing ability. Mari Tomoko in the centres with Peter Hiku. For me, Tomoko was one of our best players last year in the international scene. He's always a threat with Steeden in hand. And the halves, this is exciting. The Warriors duo of Chance Nickel-Klokstad and Sean Johnson. A lot of people saying too, is this an indication as to where we could see Chance play next year? For me, I'm not quite sure of that. Of course, he had a great game there against the Panthers at Magic Round, which helped us pull off that upset. At the same time, though, I do think in Lukey Met, Tamaire Martin and Chanel Harris-Tavita, we have some great halves options there, as well as a bit of a smoky, that option of throwing in a Tane Tuopiki there to see how he goes. I do think Chance will wear the 1 jersey next year. If not, then I think his backup would be in the centres. I do like him at the 6 though. He's a genuine ball-running option there. His leadership and his chat up in the D-line as well will be bloody good. So maybe this is a bit of an indication. I'm not too sure though, although Stacey Jones, of course, assistant coach at the Waz, so maybe he wants to see a bit more of Chanel in the 6. Stoked to see SJ there in the 7. Good to hear him talking in the media too about how now these games are almost like bonus games for him. He doesn't feel the same pressure that he used to feel pulling on the Kiwis jersey, was happily retired. He's answered the SOS, and now every game for him is just a blessing. Another chance to pull on that Kiwis emblem on his left tit, and I reckon he's going to go out there, no weight on his shoulders, and absolutely run amok. His leadership and direction is going to be massive for this team that is down on troops. James Fisher-Harris, our skipper in the C, really looking forward to seeing him and SJ lace up together, and you just know he's going to set the tone from the opening whistle. Wellington Phoenix Crosland gets his debut in the 9, a quality footballer, keen to see his work around the ruck as well. Gryffindor Neem in the 10, a big body, great to see him get the start. Of course, no Moses Leota, no Nelson Asafa Solomona, no Leo Thompson, so this is a real chance for him to stake his claim as a starting prop too. Frequently more used off the interchange bench, so I reckon he'll enjoy this improved role. Isaiah Papali'i and Scott Sorensen in the second rows, 2 quality footballers right there. And then Joseph Tapane, one of your props of the year, playing lock, 80-minute shift from him. Incredibly excited for that. Then you got 8% Cody's Nikarima off the interchange to run amok. I did expect him to see him starting in that 6 jersey, but I like him as a genuine 14, can play 9, can play 6, can play at the back as well if we get in-game injuries. His utility value is really set for a role like this. He's almost perfect, so I'm excited to see how he goes there. Nafahu White, he gets his debut as well. Of course, the Roosters' big popper. Marata Neil Kore, Warriors lad, he comes into the Remu, probably to play in that reserve middle role. Big body, that was the intention the Warriors had for him this year. Didn't quite work out due to injuries, so keen to see Hakuna Marata rip in. And then Jordan Ricky, pretty Ricky, arguably, geez, we've got a good looking side, especially in the pack, it must be said, but keen to see him make his debut. The Broncos hot boy, South Island lad too, so I think he's going to relish that. And the 18 jersey, Aaron Clark, it must have been a close call between him and 8% Cody's for that 14 spot. I do think we'll see Aaron Clark at some time throughout this competition as well, just because his utility value is massive too. Then in 19, Trent Talau, and then in the 20, young Casey McLean, who I thought nailed his song as well. Massive shift there from him. So an exciting side, a good mix there between debutants and experience. No doubt the likes of your Fish, your SJs, your Joseph Tapanes are really going to step up in that leadership department. Look to run this team around the paddock, and I genuinely think we're a red hot chance for the Roos. No changes, which I actually really like. Coach Mal, he's decided to stick to the same 17, which got the job done against Tonga. Tonga. Matty Burden, he keeps that 14 jersey, only played 9 minutes last week. And Hudson Young, he also stays on the bench. He only played 12 minutes, so that's not a lot of rest there. Their forwards were getting through a fuck ton of work, so both of those will want to play a larger role. But if they don't, I love that for us because there'll be some fatigue there through the middle for sure. Mitchie Moses and Tommy Dearden, they get another chance to improve on last week. Benny Hunt, again, the 18th man. He's got a lot going on in his world at the moment. Of course, Dragons told him he's set to look around. Lots of chat. Dolphins, Titans, Bulldogs, all interested in his services. The Broncos could well be if they do decide to get rid of Wham Bam Ezra Mam as well. So I like the settled look for the Roos because I genuinely do think there's some big kinks in that armour for sure. Kiwis Ferns, big game for them this weekend as well. Of course, last time they played Aussie, they got the dub, but there was no trophy on the line here. And the Jillaroos, they looked fucking good last week against PNG. Absolutely pumped them. I think one of their wingers scored 6 tries, the other scored 5, and all of their meaties were basically to outside backs too. They're a stacked side with superstar NRLW players like your Ellie Briggenshaws and co. When Jess Surgis can't make your 17, you know that they are full of talent. At the same time though, the Kiwi Ferns, I love this team we've rolled out. Gail Broughton, she'll make her Ferns debut in the halves alongside Tyler King, of course the Sevens convert, which is a bloody exciting playmaker duo. It does hurt to not have Racine McGregor in the mixer, but apart from that, I reckon this team is hissing. 4 players who featured in the grand final, as well as our 18th woman, so that makes it 5 as well. Mele Hufanga, Georgia Hale, some names in there that are well and truly cemented in this Kiwi Ferns side. So I reckon this team's a red hot crack too, and shit would I love to see us go to Christchurch and pull off the double. It's going to be a patriotic crowd. There won't be many Roos fans in the house, that's for sure. Next weekend will be a different atmosphere up against Tonga at Mount Smart, so I really do hope we make the most of this opportunity. The fans get around them, atmosphere should be hissing. I'll be back fencing it for the lads and lasses, that is for sure. Waitakere, daiquiris, skooey, moi mois will be flowing, and I reckon genuine shot, 2-0, down trailing, Kiwis clean sweep. Get up, the Kiwi Ferns and the mighty Kiwis. How fucking good. Onto your rugby union, and how good is a team naming Tuesday? Perhaps the powers that be have finally heard my calls, they've answered my prayers, and they've made this happen. Massive scenes. Now we get to preview the game actually knowing who is in the team. We take the guesswork out of it. So shout out to New Zealand Rugby, Razor and the crew. It does have me thinking though, why doesn't this happen every week? Are they not respecting Japan enough? Do they think, fuck, it doesn't matter how early we name our team and they do their prep, we're still going to pump them? But surely this becomes a regular fixture of the Northern Tour. I would love to see that happen. An exciting team named for the All Blacks as well. 2 debutants in Lakai and Love, or 2 potential debutants named, which are led in pencil selections right there. Of course, the propping duo to Mighty Williams and Pasaleo Tossi. Good to see him get his first start. Only his 3rd game to Mighty's 14th. So pretty inexperienced front row right there, but 2 massive bodies, both versatile as fuck, and I reckon that's a really exciting front row propping duo right there. Throw Asafo Amoa in the middle of that too. That is 3 devastating ball runners with massive frames. The Japanese front row must be absolutely trembling in their boots. In the locks, we get dished up the Blues locking duo of Sam Derry and Patrick Tuipolotu. Great to see him named as skipper as well. His 47th test, I think it is. First time as captain off the back of lifting the trophy for the Blues. A great acknowledgement for him, and good to see him as well putting in some games post-injury. His season's been so injury affected, so to wear the captain's armband, that is massive scene. Samba Penifino, Sam Kane and Wallace Satiti are your loose forward trio, the full Chiefs trio, once you break it down as well. Really excited to see Wallace in his preferred position of 8 at international level. Maybe an indication that we could see Ardy at 7 at some stage throughout this tour as well. Or maybe it's just an indication indication that Artie's not in this team and they needed an 8, and that's Wallace's preferred position. Sammy Kane, cap 101 for him, vice-captain. Well done to the lad. His experience in this pretty youthful side will be extremely valuable. And then Samapeni Finau, just his 5th test, and he's a player, much like Mark Talia, which we'll talk about shortly, that I reckon needs a massive knock here. Was huge in Super Rugby, had a massive year, started the season in the 6 jersey, the international season, but ever since then, he's kind of been bumped down, and he's in a battle just to make the 23 each week. So a big shift here could really push himself back up into starting contention. He has the frame, he has the physicality to be that next Jerome Kaino-esque player that almost every new All Black 6 gets compared to as we continue that search to lock down that jersey. Samapeni could be that guy, so hopefully he puts in a big day. And I tell you what, whoever that Japanese first 5 is will be absolutely shitting themselves if they've watched some NPC and Super Rugby highlights. They'll know that Samapeni Finau doesn't fuck around. He loves absolutely ironing out first 5s. So if I was him, I'd be playing extremely deep on attack, that's for sure. And the 9 jersey, great to see him back. Royds, Cammy Roygaard, keen to see what he can do to our attack. Him and Cortez are looming as an exciting 1-2 punch for some tests to come as well for the big games. Of course, Cortez rested this week, but great to see Roygaard back in the mixer. Excited to hopefully see him punch out 50 to 60 minutes of quality work. Damian McKenzie gets a crack in the 10 jersey. He'll be looking for a big performance. Mark Talia and Sevu Reece on the wings. This is huge for Mark, the baby-oiled assassin, the slipperiest man in rugby union. Similar to Samapeni, of course, last year, he was in huge form. Started this year as the preferred guy, but he's fallen down the ranks too due to some form from Caleb Clark and co, and he's in a battle just to make the 23 each week. So he'll be wanting to score plenty of tries and really show off his work rate around the ruck. Loves getting involved, one of the best tackle breakers in world rugby, so hopefully he can have himself a day. The midfield combo, incredibly exciting. Anton Leonard-Brown, vice-captain role for him too, so well done there. I think he's been great. Every opportunity he's been given to start this year, whether it's at 12 or 13, flexing his versatility, and I reckon he's such an underrated aspect of this team, so cool to see him get the VC honours. And then Billy Proctor, just his second game, ripped up against Fiji, gets another well-deserved opportunity. A big performance here could put some massive pressure on Rieko Ioane as well and could potentially push him out to a wing spot, because I do think Billy's distribution could be key to unlocking this All Blacks backline. Then at the back, Stephen Perifeta, aka Please Add Feta, back from injury, had a couple games under his belt for Taranaki, and he'll be looking to put his hand up too for that 23 jersey. Shit, is there some competition there. D-Mac, Perifeta, Ruben Love, even a Harry Plummer, the tradie. That 22-23 spot is really competitive in terms of utility, 10-15, and Perifeta coming back just adds another body into that mixer as well. Off the bench, we get George Bell in game number 2, Ufa Tongafasi, aka Stol Makasi, Fletcher Newell, Josh Lord, good to see him back after a horrible run of injuries as well. Debut potential for Peter Lakai. Really excited for this one. I've made it clear I want to see Satiti, Lakai and Adi Savia at some stage, and hopefully this is the start of that deadly trio. I reckon they would run amok. Peter Lakai been unreal at NPC, Super Rugby, schoolboy level. Every time he's got a crack, he's been bloody good. This is that next step up for him against Japan. A nice way to semi-easy way in off the bench too. I reckon he's made for it. The kid is a genuine weapon, and I reckon he's going to show his goods in this game too. Hopefully he gets 20 to 30 odd minutes to really try and stamp his mark. TJ Perenara off the bench to add some experience and close out this game. David Harville gets that utility nod at 22. Guess he could play 10 at a pinch. But then in 23, Ruben Love, someone who could also play 10. Of course, preferred position of fullback. Like I said last week though, I reckon the Canes might chuck him at 10. Godfrey at 15. And I saw the Canes just extended Godfrey as well. So perhaps they were listening to last week's pod. But I love this for Ruben. Big opportunity for him. Been around the squad for a while now. Gets the chance to show what he's got. He's versatile. He's exciting. He's talented. He's young. If he he goes good here, the pressure well and truly piles on D-Mac and co as well. Unavailable due to injury for this game, of course, Blackadder, Jacobson and Dalton Papali'i all out. I really like the makeup of this 23, and to be fair, I didn't expect wholesale changes due to our results earlier in the year not quite being what Razor would have hoped for. I reckon he genuinely wants a clean sweep of this Northern Tour. Of course he does. That's a pretty silly thing to say. No All Blacks coach ever expects to lose, but I reckon he needs to win at least 4 out of these 5 games in order to deem this year a success, and I reckon he wants to set the tone here. He's resisted to urge to roll out guys like AJ Lamb, like your plumbers. Instead, he's backing a pretty settled and experienced 15 in terms of, while they might not have played many caps, they've been in the All Blacks environment for a little while. Then they've got a couple debutants off the bench. I reckon we rock over in Japan and put on a clinic. Hopefully the boys can pile on a cricket score. That's certainly what the TAB is expecting. We'll touch more on that in the punting segment soon. Back to your NPC footy as well, of course. Semi-finals last weekend and we got dished up 2 doozies. Both games I actually thought played out pretty similar as well. Canterbury, this was a true game of 2 halves. They rocked up 13-8, they took a lead into Oranges. A pretty gritty first 40 minutes, true finals footy. And I was a little worried for Bay of Plenty at halftime too. Sold out crowd, scenes down in Tauranga. The sun was out. It was great to see. That's what NPC code is all about. And I was going to be gutted if they hadn't rocked up and got the dub, because for me, I think they were the better side than this Canterbury team, and it's not often you see Canterbury let a halftime lead slip, but that's exactly what they did here. Bay of Plenty showed up in the second 40, perhaps one of the great bollockings from their coach at halftime, fueled up on vitamin C, and their backline really razzed it up. Shitter, they got some talent there, of course, led around the park by Caleb Trask. Then they got Cashmore to come on in the second half, and then Trask goes to 15. That dual playmakers really love that. The midfield combo of Willis Halaholo and Amone Narawa, that has to be arguably the most deadly centre combo in the comp. Halaholo, so strong, great feet as well, and then we all know what Amone can do. And then you got the likes of Leroy Carter out on the sting. That bloke, his transition from sevens into rugby this year has been huge. Got himself a Chiefs contract as well. So he's had a massive season, and I love watching this Bay of Plenty backline go to work when they are firing on all cylinders. They won the second half, 24 points to 7, a great result for them. Unfortunately, the second semi, the upset didn't quite go their way, so they don't get a home final. But I reckon they're in with a real sniff for that game. Of course, the second semi saw Wally get the dub, 29 points to 24, in a game which was pretty similar to the Bay of Plenty one, really. I thought Wellington really dominated the second half, took the result out of question. It was a physical, it was an intense game, almost had that Super Rugby type intensity to it, but Wellington's dominance through the middle of the paddock in the second half, some of the young forwards, shitter, they're physical. They're not afraid to roll up the sleeves. And the most impressive part of this performance for me was they were without guys like Jackson Garden Bishop, your Peter Umanga Jensens, but they still have the depth in their squad. No Peter Lakai, no Ruben Love as well. Just to have that next cab off the rank type of mindset, next man up, and they got the job done. I thought their captain, Duplessis Karifi, he was outstanding. The amount of turnovers he gets, his work around the paddock, his work rate, plus his ability to just smoke people on D. Fuck, is he a quality footballer. And if he's not in the All Blacks plans over the next couple of years, he should have been in a black jersey already by now. He's in the All Blacks 15, of course. But I reckon he's a genuine contender to wear that 17 jersey. He'd be hissing off the bench at international level too, because he just leaves it all out on the park. I also think he'd be bloody good at rugby league. That's a conversation for another day too, but it's not just his turnovers which were impressive, it's the timing of them as well. It's when his team's just starting to get onto the back foot, the momentum appears to be shifting. He always comes up with a massive play, which is a sign of a bloody good player. Really enjoyed seeing him mic'd up as well. He's a character, he's a dog, he's built different, that bloke, and shit, a Wellington lucky to have him as their skipper. I thought Waikato put up another good fight. I thought they were lucky just to make the quarterfinals, finals footy, but from there they've really kicked up to another gear, led around the paddock by Xavier Rowe and Aaron Cruden, who have both had exceptional finals times, and shout out to Ollie Mathis as well. That bloke is a freak. Literally every flanker or forward thinks that they could be a winger. 9 out of 10 of them, 99%, couldn't do it at all. But this bloke, I reckon he's a genuine outlier. He could be a bloody good winger at the highest level, of course. Came into the competition this year off the back of being ranked probably the best schoolboy player in rugby last year. Fresh from Hamilton boys, he's a flanker, got moved out onto the wing in a game due to injuries, and ever since then, he hasn't looked back. He's fast, he's agile, he finishes well, he's only 19. I reckon he might find himself in a full-time permanent position out there on the wing. I'm not too sure how he feels about it, but at the same time, he's got that rare sense, that ability to finish, to make things happen from nothing. It's not easy to do as a player who's never really played in that position, so shout out to him. The bloke's an absolute gun, and he definitely has a massive future in New Zealand rugby, whether it's at 7 or on the sting. That is one talented footballer. So on to the final we go this week. Welly up against Bay of Plenty, 3:05pm kickoff at the Cake Tin. Saturday Arvo footy. I love this. You get to roll that into the All Blacks game. That right there is a great night of rugby union. I reckon more NPC games should be played on your Saturday Arvo. It's bums on seats. It's a great time slot. Also ensures normally that more points are scored. You get to play while the sun's out. Love this for the GF. I reckon this should be a great game. These two sides met earlier in the year, went to Golden Point extra time, and I reckon we're set for another nail-biter. Both have physical, talented forward packs with some big names in there, and then both of them have great talent in the back line as well. Have it on good authority. Of course, team not named at time of recording, but Jackson Garden Bishop and Peter Umanga Jensen, they're supposedly back for the Lions. They have been hit hard at hooker, the lads from Welly. Lenny Apasai picking up a bit of an ankle injury, I believe, but the rumour mill is dishing up the possibility, and it might just be a slim one, but it is being talked about. The real DC, Dane Coles, Lions and Hurricanes legend. There's been some chat that he could potentially come out of retirement to lace up the boots just to help out this Lions side, which is really struggling in the hooker position. If that is the case, then holy shit, I would love to see it happen. I reckon he's still got it. He'd still be fit. He's been involved, I think, in the Hurricanes and the Lions setup a bit this year. No doubt he's still got the playing ability, and I reckon he'd be a massive confidence boost for the Lions as well. When you think about the options, you could call up some bloke to make his debut, someone from club footy, or you could lean back on All Blacks, Hurricanes, and Wellington legend Dane Coles. For me, it's a no-brainer. Surely the NPC would let it happen too. Register the bloke and let him run out there. That would get bums on seats and eyeballs on screens for sure. So watch this space. Hopefully I haven't been dished up a doozy of a rumour that's never going to happen through the old mill. But we will soon see once teams are named. But some great battles all across the park. I reckon that Riley Higgins versus Halaholo matchup will be good. Umanga Jensen against Narawa. Jackson Garden Bishop up against Caleb Trask. There's Super Rugby players all across these two teams. And I reckon this is going to be some game. So I'm on the bop wagon. I'm hoping they can pull it off. I do think it'll be tight. 1-12 either way for sure. Got my full tips coming up in the punting segment. But up the mighty Steamers, and saying that, wouldn't mind if the Lions win. I think they won it 2 years ago. To win it again this year, to see Du Plessis get another title as skipper, that wouldn't be the worst result. But up the mighty Bay, would love to see them pull it off. I can't remember the last time they were in a final, let alone won the competition, so that would be huge for them. How good is the mighty Bunnings Far Cup? And then finally for your rugby union, just jumping across the ditch quickly, Joe Schmidt named his Wallabies side for the Northern Tour. Great to see Harbour Heat first five, Tane, aka Tane Edmed, in the mixer to potentially wear the 10 jersey and make his debut. I thought he was outstanding for Harbour. I knew he was a good player for the Tars, but I didn't expect him to perform at that level. His running game was elite, his kicking game was great, conducted the team around the park perfectly, turned into a bit of a leader for them, finished the comp as the leading point scorer as well, and that Heat backline, he unlocked them perfectly. So I'd love to see him take that next step and wear the 10 jersey. I genuinely think he could be that missing piece in the Wallabies backline. Speaking of missing pieces as well, good to see Joseph Suaalii on the tour too. too. Hasn't played a game of rugby union in a pretty long time, but everyone knows the potential's there. He's got the frame, got the skill set, got the high school prodigy CV as well, which shows that he should transition back into rugby union fairly quickly. I'll be interesting to see if he plays on the tour, if he's just there for experience. But a pretty exciting squad there named for Joe Schmidt, and I do expect him to turn around this Wallabies side over the next few years. I reckon they could be decent come that next World Cup, which I think is actually in Australia as well, so no doubt that is fueling their fire for sure. And I'm really interested to see how they go on their Northern Tour as well. Watch this space. Weekly wrap, and she's going to be a pretty butty one, to be fair. So much action to cover off. Like I said in the intro, one of the great historic weekends of New Zealand sport. We'll start with the White Ferns. Well done to them. A massive lift, winning the T20 World Cup. $256,000 bonus they each bank, and bloody good on them too. I think they'd only won one of their last 12 T20 games heading into this. Their form was down. People were starting to turn on them. How bloody good though. And they seem like a real down-to-earth bunch as well. A huge result for the White Ferns and for cricket in New Zealand in general. Tough scenes too. I can imagine they sent it. I think I saw a video of Susie Bates on Crowd Goes Wild. She'd only had a couple hours sleep. She saw the sunrise. Then to roll that into a one-day series against India, which I think starts today. That is tough right there. Surely you give them a couple days, feed up, rest and recover, at least a week before they kick into another competition. But well done to the White Ferns. Certainly did defy all odds. Got a massive result right there and made history for New Zealand women's cricket. Gotta love that. Shout out to the Black Caps as well. Shit, is it good to be in the 11-man code at the moment. Their first test win in India since 1988. I love smoking India. And man, we're a real bogey side of theirs as well. Shout out to the chin, Russian Ravindra. Heck of a knock from him with Remu in hand, and a great bowling display in that first innings in particular. Really set us up for the dub. Bowled them out for 46. I think their third lowest total in test history and their lowest total on Indian soil. I'd love to see us back it up. No Captain Kane for the second test, which makes it difficult. But that was one of the most exciting test matches to watch in a bloody long time. I thought the rain was going to come back and fuck us, rob us of a result, but we were good enough to get the job done. America's Cup, speaking of getting the job done, 3-time defending champs. Now it's time to bring it back home. Team New Zealand go over to Barcelona, knock the bastards off, and did it reasonably comfortably in the end. I was a little worried when we went through that patch where we dropped 2 straight races. But hey, Burling, Tuke and the lads just said, nah, we're a class above, won the starts and won the race. Not a lot of fizz over here in New Zealand, personally. I didn't really see people getting swept up in it. The racing or the atmosphere, the energy around it wasn't quite there. So surely Dalton brings it home. Part of me doesn't think he will, though. Rumours Dubai, Saudi Arabia, they're going to front up some massive coin. So maybe we've seen the end of the America's Cup being hosted in New Zealand. Great result, though. Stoked to see them defend it. Silver Ferns pumped the Aussies, flipped recent results on their head. Our biggest win against Australia in 14 years. We've got the second test tonight, my time, Wednesday night. So by the time you're listening to this, you'll know the result of that game. But I didn't see that result coming. Huge. Grace Nawicki, what a freak she is too. Love watching international netball. It's so high speed, physical, the skill set's unreal, and a great dub there for the Ferns. Liam Lawson from 19th to 9th, a great race from him, which certainly just only pushes his stakes even higher to have a full-time driving slot. And surely the team at Red Bull are looking over their shoulder too. Every opportunity he's got, he's turned it into a success, and this was just a great drive from him. 19th on the grid, into 9th, get some points, top 10 finish. I think he claimed 4 or 5 cars just off the start. The kid's a gun, and he certainly deserves every opportunity he's going to get in the future. Lando and Max were going at it throughout this race, but Ferrari got the 1-2 finish. A bloody exciting watch, that one overall. Shout out to the Auckland FC. What a win from them, and I have to say the atmosphere looked electric. The port is the place to be. The win made even better too by the fact that the Phoenix got the draw. But I was watching that game, jealous as fuck that I wasn't there. It looks like Mount Smart, the Warriors have some competition there now, because that south stand, that is always humming. The flares were a nice touch. Gutted to hear that people were getting kicked out for lighting them, though. That's what soccer is all about, or football, so the purists say. But good to hear the chants going up. We're top of the league, all that type of stuff. Just looked like a bloody cool environment to be amongst, and I can't wait to be there. Unfortunately, not going to be there this weekend, of course, due to the Kiwis. But that game against the Phoenix, early doors in December, you best believe that'll be bums on seats. I reckon tensions will be high, and the fans will be ripping in for that New Zealand derby too. But good to see Auckland FC get off to a winning start. Hopefully they can back it up this week at home. The momentum, the upswell that will bring will be massive, and I reckon that will kick them on to having a bloody good season. The NFL, chaos continues there. Kansas City, the only unbeaten team now after the Vikings were handed their first L by the Lions. Patrick Mahomes, he's 6-0 for the first time in his career. They've also won their last 12 straight games. They've got injuries, they're down on troops, but still they just find a way to get it done. Mahomes, he probably struggled in that game too. Didn't have his best performance, but still Andy Reid cooked up an offensive masterclass, and they get the chockies. It's injury chaos everywhere, all across the league, to be fair. Receivers are dropping like flies. It's bloody tough watching. The other big wins went to the Packers, who bet the Texans. Of course, touched on the Lions before. The Steelers, they dismantled the Jets, despite their new addition of Devontae Adams and their new coach. They still couldn't get the treats there. And then the Ravens proved way too strong for the Buccaneers. Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdowns in a massive performance from him. Tough for the Buccaneers, though. They lost Goodwin, they lost Mike Evans. That is going to be bloody hard for them to bounce back from. NBA opening day, that is today at time of recording. Neither of the games have tipped off, but I'm so excited for this. I fucking love the NBA. It's not only the games itself that's exciting to watch. Some of the best athletes in the world all on the court. The athletic display is exceptional, but it's all the stuff around it too. The league fits, the hype leading into the game, fantasy. Froth that. Always say it's the best sport fantasy-wise. I'm in 3 or 4 leagues. Can't wait for that to start. 2 great games today too, with Boston taking on the Knicks and the Lakers taking on the T-Wolves. Will we get to see the Bronny and LeBron James duo make history? We've been told it's going to happen at some stage, so I'm excited for that. A big day today too, Thursday for all of you listening. A full slate, so get your fantasy teams ready. There's some great matchups, and I'm just so stoked to have the NBA back on our screen. Sport every day, something to punt on too, which is great for the TAB. Gotta love that. And then UFC, wanted to touch on this too. Of course, we've got 308 this weekend. That is a hissing card. But UFC 312 announced to be returning to Sydney February 9th. You got to be at this. I loved my experience at Perth for 305. You best believe I'll be doing everything I can to get a boarding pass to be over there. Imagine February UFC into WAS in Vegas at the end of the month. That sets up one of the great sporting months. Tough on the bank account, but sometimes you just got to swallow the pill and get the job done. Excited to see who headlines this card. Of course, Volk, he's been involved in all the press conferences. There's some chat around Izzy. Kai Carter-France has already come out and said he wants to be in the mixer. Dan Hook has ruled himself out. I think his wife's pregnant, due to give birth that month, but still there's some stacked Kiwi and Aussie talent. The Anzacs will no doubt lace up the gloves, step into the octagon and do a heck of a job. Navajo Sterling, Carlos Oldberg, guys like that will be keen to biff. Robbie Whittaker, he's fighting this weekend. Maybe he gets back in off a short turnaround. Can't wait for that. Good to have it back in Sydney too. Perth, it was fun. Fucking tough place to get to. Sydney just a stone's throw away, which makes it so much more accessible. And surely 2025, back end of the year, we get an Auckland card. The UFC, they must know that would be a lucrative earner for them to bring the great sport back to Aotearoa. Right, fire up the Tea and Biscuits app. It's time to have a cheeky little Carmichael punt. Some huge wins last weekend as well. Extremely lucrative. Hit on the hammer. First, second, or third try scorer paying $3.90. Love that. Then went back-to-back bangs with PNG 1-12 paying $3.60 as well. Huge shout out to those lads. Liam Lawson, that was my juiciest win of the weekend. Unfortunately, I wasn't on the Black Caps pre-game. I think they shot out to $19 odds. That wasn't to be for me. But Liam Lawson, top 10 paying $9. That was a great win. The AFC, shout out to them, $2.40 for them head-to-head. They were always going to win in their home opener in front of the Port. Juicy odds there. Premier League multi, Spurs, City, United in the pool. Bang, 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 bang. And then, of course, Team New Zealand, that futures we rode home. It was only $1.50, but I had her in my multis, so she was a nice green tick on the bet slip. Hopefully we can run it back again this week and continue to dish up some great wins for those of you following along at home. Of course, we'll start with the Rugby League, the Pacific Championship, as we always do. And I can't believe the disrespect from the bookies here. The defending champs, last year's winners, it was a 30-0 humping. And they want to give us $3.10 outsiders for our lads. Australia, $1.36 favourites. Yes, please, I'll take that all day. Even more so of the disrespect, the line of 9.5 points. I can't believe that. And the best backed winning margin is Kangaroos 13+. Kiwis 1-12 paying $4.25. Thank you very much. And look, I am an ultimate patriot. I'm always going to back the boys. And I do get that, of course, Australia had a hit out last week. So they'll have less rust on their rigs. But at the same time, they look pretty dusty, and I think our forward pack in particular, like I touched on before, has real opportunities to dominate if we're firing on all cylinders. So I like us on that 9.5 line, that's for sure. And then for your Leary option, I'm going to jump on us 1-12 at $4.25. For your anytime try scorers, the hammer jumps out again. $1.88 anytime, so his odds have shot up compared to last week. And then $4.25 for first, second, or third. I reckon that's massive value, as is his centre pairing, who of course dotted last week too. Tommy Turbo, same odds as the hammer. So both of those guys have caught my eye, and I do still believe in the wizard Harry Grant. $3.05 anytime for him. I don't mind that as a Kangaroos hooker option right there. For the Kiwis, $2.15 is our lowest paying odds for a try scorer, so there's massive value to be had here. William Warbrick, he's that guy, he's the favourite. Jermaine Isakor, $2.40, and then Keanu Keeney at $3.50. Those are our three best backed. It's pretty crazy. First, second, or third try scorer for the brick, you can get yourself $4.50. I love that. And then I also think there's some real value to be had in the middle of the paddock, getting on some of our forwards. IPAP, he's our lowest priced option at $8.50, punching a cheeky little line off SJ. I reckon that's criminal. I also don't mind Joseph Tarpanay at lock, paying $12.50 as an Ivan Leary bet. And then Scotty Sorensen, arguably the hottest bloke in rugby league, got the most underrated rig. Put some respect on his name at $8.50 as well. Geez, there's some good shopping in amongst our big boppers, and hopefully that is the game plan that Stacey has laid down. Dominate through the middle, punch holes, and in we go for meaty. So my best bets here, I'm going Kiwis on that plus 9.5 line. I'm going us 1-12 as well. And then I'm jumping on the brick in his debut, the triple international, New Zealand Sevens, New Zealand AFL if you count that, and then the Kiwis. First, second, or third, get around him and up yours to the Aussies. NPC footy, Wellington, the home side, go in as favourites, $1.52. Bay of Plenty paying $2.40. The line is 4.5, and your best backed winning margin here is Welly 1-12 at $2.70. For me in this one, there's that saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, this is broken, but I'm still not going to fucking fix it. I'm going to run it back. That try bet option, which always tickles my fancy, really gets me going. Either team to win by 7.5 points or less. The last time these two played, draw at full time, went into extra time. Welly scored late to get the dub. I reckon we get a repeat of a clash like that. Plenty of points, Saturday Arvo footy and Welly. Hopefully the weather shows up, but I do think this one could go right down to the wire. So I love that. Some good value there at $2.50 for your All Blacks game. Speaking of value, shit is it hard to extract some from this one. The All Blacks paying $1.02 head to head. Basically not worth it. Japan paying $12. Arigato gozaimasu. The line is 30.5, and your best back margin is All Blacks 13+ at $1.12. Again, basically not worth that either. So for me, you have to go shopping for some try scorers, some power plays, some boosts in order to make this game work. Unfortunately, at time of recording, your power plays and your boosts aren't out, but check back in on game day because hopefully there's some juicy options there. Your try scorers, though, I reckon we can hit on a couple of these. I expect plenty of points to be scored, in particular out wide. So I like Mark Talia, a bit of a bounce back performance for him, the slipperiest man in rugby union, the baby oiled assassin. I reckon he's going to put in a big knock here to show that he is still the real deal at international level after falling out of favour a little bit as of late. I like him to dot. Cammy Roigard, Roids, welcome back, son. He's a ball-running 9 who loves a meat pie. His support player's great. Big body, close to the line, proves hard to stop. And I reckon he's going to put his hand up to show what injury. I'm good to go for these big games, Razor. So chuck me in the mixer. So those two into a same game multi there with the All Blacks 13 plus. Don't mind that. Also don't mind Billy Proctor. You could chuck him in there as a little more value. I reckon he's going to show up big time and cross for Meaty to put some pressure on old Rico Ioane. For your NBA, I like 4 results here for your Thursday games, which are hopefully as close to a guaranteed thing as you can get. Of course, nothing's guaranteed in the world of punting. Always gamble responsibly, but I picked out these 4, so hopefully they can salute. Pacers to beat the Pistons. Yes, the Pistons are at home, but I think Detroit are going to suck again this year. Good to see Cade back, and hopefully he can stay healthy, but I think the Pacers, after their success last year with Pascal Siakam there from the jump, I reckon they'll be too strong in game 1. Hawks to beat the Nets. Don't expect Brooklyn to be up to fucks this year, to be honest. Cam Thomas, I reckon he's going to pop off. He'd be a good one for your player points, single prop bets, because he's the guy there now in Brooklyn, but I think Atlanta should be too good. I like the Rockets to beat the Hornets. I think that game could be a little closer. LaMelo Ball back now for the Hornets. Like my Brandon Miller. Bridges, of course, there from the jump too, so they should be reasonably strong. But this Houston team, now with Steven Adams too, shout out to the big Kiwi, so I'm going to jump on them. And then the Cavs to beat the Raptors. I reckon the Cavs this year, a big season for them. It's an interesting dynamic in terms of how it works with Mobley and Allen at the 4 and 5. I'm also really hopeful that my boy Garland pops off this year. Got him in fantasy, picked him up cheap in our salary cap draft too. $5 I got him for. There's real potential that that could be the buy of the year if he pops off. Disappointing season last year. I'm backing the bounce back. And then, of course, in Donovan Mitchell, they've got themselves a genuine superstar there. So hopefully those 4 come through. Pacers, Hawks, Rockets, and Cavs. Get up. How bloody good is it having the NBA back? Your single player punting bets as well. Love me those. Rebounds, assists, points. It's just hard to predict them a day out because you don't quite know who's 100% in the lineup. But if you enjoy getting on those, then have a flutter. Ride them home. I wouldn't mind doing one of those ladder challenges either. So perhaps that's something we'll look to bring in the weeks to come. Your NFL, upsets galore continue, injuries ravaged, like I said before, but I've gone through and picked out a few games that I'm hoping are your key ones to punt on. Unfortunately, I think the Ravens pumped my team, the Browns. We suck. Watson's out for the year, which I personally don't mind, but he was just starting to look good. His combo with Chubb looked pretty deadly early doors, but we're just beaten up as fuck, and the Ravens looked really good, as I touched on before, so I reckon they smoke us there. The Packers, I like them to beat the Jags. Love's got that team humming. Lions, they'll beat the Titans, and then surely the Jets bounce back to beat the Pats. Also like the Chargers over the Saints, and then the Chiefs over the Raiders in a game which has become a bit of a rivalry over the last couple of years. So I think the Chiefs go 7-0 despite being really down on troops as well. UFC 308, massive card. Excited for this one. Going to be a great night of biffs for your 2 main fights. I'll just jump straight to those. Unfortunately, I think Hamzat's going to prove too strong for Whittaker. As much as I'd love to see Bobby Knuckles get the job done, I just can't see it playing out that way. And then in your main event, Taporia up against Max Holloway again. Would love to see Max get it done. At $3 underdog odds, it is tempting, but I just think Taporia's a different league. Of course, knocked out Volk in his last biff. This bloke is just not one to be messed around with. Instead of going the $1.40 head-to-head, I don't mind jumping on him on the KO, TKO, or points. The double chance market there, paying $1.70. I reckon that's pretty good for a nice little multi-leg for your A-League, AFC. Love them on the double chance too. The win or the draw against Sydney at home, $1.67, yes please. $2.95 head-to-head is also tempting too. I don't think they lose at home in front of the Port. The momentum, the swell, the uproar, that would grow them a third leg almost. Again, back-to-back weeks, but shout out to Rambo. So get on them, $1.67 on that double chance, or head-to-head at $2.95. That right there could push your multi up to some generous odds. But your bet of the week for me this week, I can't go past that Kiwis. I'm 22 from 30 on these now. Hit last week on the PNG plus 4.5 into Wally multi. Well, this week, I'm just going the Kiwis to cover. Not going too crazy. Plus 9.5 at $1.96. Get up the boys, led by the fairy tale SJ comeback, Fisher Harris and co, just to dominate Lindsay Collins and those losers in front of a sold-out Christchurch crowd. How bloody good. Get that into ya. The key is well and truly in the wee. Q&A, we'll punch these out before we call her a day. Remember to chuck the story up, so it's great to hear from you each and every week. Hopefully, I'll remember to do it again next week, so if you missed out this week, make sure you stay tuned to the STS Instagram page to get your questions in. First one comes through from Nat Lama, who says, will the Kiwis stand a chance this weekend without Tyler's assistance? Yeah, look, a bit of an inside story there. I'll try paint the picture really quickly, though, without giving too much away. So basically, last year, in the week, in the lead up to the Pacific Championship final, a few members of the Kangaroos were out in Danny Doolan's. My mate bumped into them. He ended up kicking on with them, and then they dished up a performance like that. So you could say he, MVP, Kiwis Rugby League, owe him something surely, because he had the lads well and truly off their game. Unfortunately, he's not flying down to Christchurch this week, so he won't have the chance to repeat that. Maybe that's something that they should have looked into. Stacey Jones and the crew, hire our mate, fly him down, chuck him in the mixer, and see if he can do a number on them in consecutive games. A lot of the players that he did kick on with, though, aren't in the team this time. I'll leave that up to your imagination, but shit did he do a great captain's knock, and we salute him in his role in leading to history for New Zealand Rugby League. Next question, could SJ receive another golden boot? Absolutely, and I actually love his chance to do this. I spoke before about how he mentioned the pressure's off. Every time he pulls on the jersey now is just a bonus, and I reckon that's when he's going to play his best code. Add to that the forward pack he's behind, Fisher, Harris, Tapane and co. They're going to set a platform. He's the dominant playmaker. Chance isn't built that type of way in terms of playmaking. He's more your ball-running half. So SJ, he's going to have the opportunity to pull all the strings. His kicking game is going to be crucial as well. The 7, that's a position where if you win, you get all the accolades. If you lose, you cop all the flack. Well, if the Kiwis can win both games, or just one of these two, then go on to win the final, I think SJ is well and truly in with a shot, and what a swan song that would be. Perhaps there'll be enough to convince him to come out of retirement next year and go again, although I think those chances are slim to fuck all. Next question, Henry Lee, will I be seeing you in the Port this Sunday? Unfortunately not. I'll be down in Christchurch, but in answer to Riley's question, which is a follow-up, see you in the Port 7th December against the Knicks. I'll absolutely be in there then. I actually need to buy some AFC merch just to really get on the bandwagon, but I can't wait to get amongst it. That energy, looked like Lily World was popping off pre-game as well. People singing Free From Desire and deleting tins. That's my type of crowd right there, so I can't wait to be in the mix. I've heard it's almost sold out too, so I better bloody get my tickets quick smart up the AFC. And shit, they're dominating the Q&A. Next question, Auckland FC prediction, and how good are the Port fans? Man, I hope they go well, and I do think winning the majority of their home games will be crucial to them. If they can keep up this momentum, do really well in front of the fans that are creating an unreal atmosphere, turn that into a bit of a fortress. If they can make the finals in year one, then that would be huge. But I think the crowd they got and that momentum, if they can keep that up, and even if they don't make finals, you'd have to grant it a success. And saying that, the team looks bloody good on paper too, so they've certainly got the squad to be capable to do it. Might be a little bit harder on the road, but I think at home, if they can sell out majority of their home games, they'll be a bloody force to be reckoned with. The Port unmatched. And hopefully this isn't just a 1 week craze and the lads can keep ticking the boxes and getting dubs to keep people showing up. Final question, Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals for the NBA. And please don't say the Lakers. Would love to say the Lakers. And in all honesty, I think we'll be better than last year. JJ Redick as coach fills me with hope because he's just a recent player, recently retired, and he just gets it. He knows what offense to run. He's connected with all the players, got an elite understanding and a smart basketball mind. Plus, he's got great relationships with LeBron, his fellow podcast host. So surely that'll lead to an improvement on the court. Mentioned last week for the West, I've got the Thunder winning it, who they play in the finals. I think the T-Wolves will be there and about, so I think the Suns are going to be strong this year as well. I quite like the little pickups they made in their roster. No big money plays, but some decent little role players there. I think they'll be good, and I also think Dallas will be good. Can't write off Denver too. I think the West is pretty stacked in terms of how competitive it's going to be. I think one of those three teams will look to take on the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Then in the East, I think it's going to be Celtics Knicks. They're the best two rosters on paper, so hopefully they can both go all the way because I want to see a 7-game series of that. We'll get a good indication in today's game, although it's early doors, but it'll be fun to watch two heavyweight contenders go at it there. I think Boston win that though, and then they'll play OKC, and then I've got Boston to win it yet again. I just think they're going to be too deep, but I really hope the Thunder can get it done because that would be fucking elite. So those are your questions for this week. As always, really appreciate them and look forward to tucking into some more on next week's potty. Right, that's us for another weekend of STS. As always, hope you really enjoyed it. Looking forward to getting down to Christchurch this weekend. Should be big scenes down there. Hopefully, if you're heading along, flick me a message. Love to catch you for a beer pre-game. Otherwise, post-game, after party at High Bar with George FM. Grab your tickets to that. She should be a doozy. So much sport to tuck the teeth into this weekend. Got the Kiwis, the All Blacks, NPC final, Silver Ferns, got the Black Caps in the mixer, AFC as well. So hopefully there's something there that tickles your fancy. And I'll catch you back here, same time, same place next week to reminisce on hopefully another huge weekend for New Zealand and look ahead to that Kiwis-Tonga game next weekend as well as All Blacks versus England. She's going to be a mouth-watering October, November. Gone are the days where that is the off-season for sport. How bloody good is it? Go well, Big Fizz.